Thanks very much, Nick, and it's really exciting to see a pretty good crowd here on a beautiful Saturday morning to remember the Nikbar of 1948. I too acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people on whose land we meet today, and I recognise leaders past, present and future, and I also acknowledge this always will be and always was Aboriginal land. I'd also like to welcome the many Palestinians who are with us today, and we stand with you in the ongoing struggle of justice for Palestine and justice for Palestinians. I stand with Melissa, who paid a very heavy price for comments that she made at what we thought was a pretty private meeting a couple of months ago. One of the things that I'm proud of is that within Labor we have established in Western Australia for the first time a Labor Friends of Palestine. And the three of us who fronted that, and it was supported by my union United Voice, were Melissa, myself and Josh Wilson. You saw that Melissa paid a very heavy price as our endorsed candidate for Curtin, but you might have also seen in the media that Matthias Cormann, a member of the Liberal Party and indeed a minister, called for the sacking of myself and Josh Wilson. So we do know here, in fact, I think that, in my view, having just come out of the bruising federal election and the shocking result we got, my view is that the Murdoch media and the West Australian are more Liberal than the Liberal Party. And we have a real challenge ahead of us on any justice issues, whether it's justice for Palestine, whether it's the environment, whether it's justice for First Nations people. We have a media who are hell-bent on shutting down reasonable voices and voices on the left and voices in the middle, and just decent ordinary human beings. And we now have a Liberal Party that will believe it has a mandate to not do the right thing. And we saw last year in the Wentworth by-election where, even if you don't think Australia does enough on foreign relations and by both parties, and there's probably a whole lot of you that believe that, we have had fairly settled policy in relation to the embassy in Tel Aviv. But we saw that the Prime Minister of this country, was prepared to get his hands dirty and for what he thought would be a political outcome in the by-election in the seat of Wentworth, to suddenly announce that he was going to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
You're the way of the Crusader states.
Now, we then saw the absolute backlash that came from Indonesia. We saw the free trade agreement that the government was so proudly championing be put to one side for quite a considerable period of time. And we saw some of the so-called moderates in the Liberal Party have to scramble and hunt and go and meet with Indonesians to try and get that relationship back on track. So I think we have to stand together, we have to be united as people who support Palestine. It doesn't help when you attack the Labor Party publicly. I think it is time that we unite on the areas we agree on, and we do agree on Palestine, because we are in for a hell of a fight until the next federal election. Make no mistake, we've seen what Morrison is prepared to do to win a battle in Wentworth, a tiny little seat, to maintain one Liberal member in one seat in Australia. We've seen the power of the media. In my view, I think the West Australian is now one of the worst papers in the country. You've seen the atrocious headlines; they will continue. So I'm proud that we have set up WA Labor Friends of Palestine, and I know that many of you here came to that meeting, and you came as friends. And I know that, however that the discussions in that meeting got out in the media, I know it wasn't done with malice. It absolutely wasn't done with malice, because I saw people in that room as friends, people that I'd seen at these rallies, Labor Party members and so on. But we saw the power of the media to take Melissa out of Curtin and to call for the resignation of myself and Josh. We saw what they're willing to do. But I really am speaking to the converted here. Those of you from Palestine who've been part of the struggle know this already. And I think it's really important at these events that we continue to hear from people like Sabrina, to tell her everyday story, her everyday life, which was one of struggle, which was one of discrimination, which was one of being an outsider. And certainly that's what I will continue to fight for within the Labor Party, and certainly as WA Labor Friends of Palestine. So thank you very much for coming today. The struggle continues. I think, as I said, we're in for a tough 3 years ahead, but we need to stay united. We need to be loud with our condemnation of the Morrison government whenever they take a wrong turn on any issue. Hopefully in the future, I do like Sabrina said, there was hope, and I've heard other Palestinians, certainly at the WA Labor Friends meeting, people told us they had hope. So I think that we have to share that hope and carry that hope forward with our Palestinian friends. Thank you very much.